Michael Dumas, a colleague, and I came out with a piece recently. Erica said that maybe some of you were familiar with it on policy knowledge, impact of qualitative research on policy. Should I assume people have some idea of what our argument was in that? No. Okay, so essentially we were sort of toying with this problem of to what extent do those of us who do qualitative research defined broadly have an impact on policy. It's a larger question is whether academics have an impact on policy, period, and if so, how, right? And you could also ask an impact on practitioners and practitioner practices in schools and classrooms as well. And so the first thing we wanted to sort of establish was that this sort of argument that qualitative research is somehow less valid or reliable and so forth than quantitative research. So we kind of debunked that notion and basically argue, look, any kind of methodology you're using has its limitations, its pros and cons. You either get great depth or you get shallow, but great breadth, or you get, it's all about trade-offs, right, in terms of what you're going to get from your research. And so to get away from this idea of better, worse, whatever, while officially we all think it's your research question determines your methodology, the fact is we all specialize. So we tend to have a methodology and then we ask the questions that qualitative researchers would ask or that quantitative researchers would have. I mean, that's kind of heresy, but that's really the way I think it works in practice. You don't find, quantitative researchers really asking qualitative questions or the other way around. And because we're trained in our formation in graduate school really does to some extent determine how we think about research later on. So one of the reasons I can never get people interested in action research because there's not a doctoral PhD program in the country that takes action research seriously. And so when faculty are putting together committees and a student says, I want to do action research, it's like, whoa, tell me what's that, and they have sort of an idea of it. So you end up with these weird hybrid dissertations where the person's in their setting and they're doing the research themselves and they're referring to the researcher as if it's some third person, right? So I think that somehow has implications for how we train future researchers, in terms of thinking more broadly about the various options that are out there, because it is proliferating. We now have a lot of network analysis and GIS, geographic information service analysis and discourse analysis and critical discourse analysis. And so, qualitative research is proliferating in many different directions with many new methodologies that are, it's not just about interviews and observations anymore, right?